morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. We've made it to our Friday edition. All right. Let's see what we have for our space weather. We have a chance for a storm in the offing. Something to be pay attention to. Our solar wind at the moment, 455.4 kilometers per second. Planetary K index is at a 3 at the moment. Our coronal holes seem to be about the way they were the other day. And we can see here that due to the coronal holes, we're getting hit with some solar wind. And we have been getting hit throughout the course of the week with this solar wind from the previous holes that were there. And now, as these are directly facing the Earth, we'll see how that might have an effect on things. Our M-class flare possibility is a 10% chance. X-class flare down to a 1% chance. And geomagnetic storm activity, it is up there a little bit, 25% chance if you're in the mid latitudes. If you're in the upper latitudes, you can get as high as 35% chance. I also want to show you here that Comet Ison, this is this comet that is coming in, and we'll be able to get a good view of it on the 28th of November. Well, right now it's just passing through the orbit of Jupiter, and one thing that's sort of making the news is that it's developed this little tail, okay, as it's going through. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot of news about this as it's being tracked for the next several months, all the way until November. Okay, moving from there, we go to our astrology for today. We are right here. Oh, right here. So today's a void of course moon. Void of course moon means we're between two signs. The two signs were between our Capricorn and Aquarius. Aquarius is an air sign, Capricorn's an earth sign. So we're making that transition from earth to air, from the practicality of life into the way to communicate what is going on with us. So all of the things that we've been through, now is the time that we learn how to express that. You notice how life kind of goes through this process. We've got the fire, the water, the air, and the earth, and it's always a process. Fire's ideas, water's love and emotions, air is words and actions, and then form. And we're always going through that same process of having ideas, applying love to it, expressing it, creating it over and over and over and over. So we should be pretty masterful at messing around and working with energies. So this is what's going on unconsciously. Consciously, we're still in Aquarius, which is the air sign. So we've got some double Aquarius energy working over the course of this weekend. Okay, as also with the new moon. So should be a good weekend for exploring things of a higher nature, exploring things that are more out there. Think of the term, the age of Aquarius, those ideals. So we have a lot of that with the Aquarius sun and moon over the course of this weekend. All right, moving from there to our moon phase, we are just a sliver away from that new moon, which will happen tomorrow. And on our Mayan Oracle, we're at a 9-tone days. 9 tones are called solar tones of intention. Solar tones of intention. They're a bar, 5, and then 4 dots. That's the 9. Today the kin is the warrior, which asks questions, so it's appropriate. The big question mark right in the middle. Warrior uses intelligence. And the guide for today is free will. So today we have the solar warrior guided by the human. And supporting cast members, we have the challenge of the day is the world bridger. Like-minded energy is the knight, N-I-G-H-T. And the hidden power or occult power is the serpent, life force energy. And we take all of this information and we look right here to see where we're at on our theme of the star, beauty and elegance. So we're at the questioning aspect, okay? So the best way to understand these is you just read through, and we'll read through the phrase here just to get an understanding of what these words are. Let it kind of absorb within you and just contemplate back to this main theme that we're in here for 13 days. And it will all make a bit more sense. The phrase is, I pulse in order to question, realizing fearlessness. I seal the output of intelligence with the solar tone of intention. I am guided by the power of free will. And on the Gregorian calendar is Friday, February 8th, 2013. All right. So, moving right along. This next piece I have here is, again, about a lost civilization. We've had a lot of those over the course of this week, from Graham Hancock talking about the series that he was in, looking for the lost civilizations, to the piece on Atlantis. Well, now this is a piece from an interview, and it's about Lemuria. So this is another one of the places we need to know about, one of the lost civilizations. So check it out. I'll be back.
Hello, and welcome to another healing conversation brought to you by AcousticHealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and today I am very thrilled to present this healing conversation on Lemuria. My guest today is Frank Joseph, author of The Lost Civilization of Lemuria and others. He's also the editor of Ancient American magazine, available at ancientamerican.com. Thank you so much for Thank you so much for joining us on Healing Conversations, Frank Joseph.
Well, the pleasure is all mine. I'm very glad to be here.
This book of yours, The Lost Civilization of Lemuria, has taken you by surprise. You haven't promoted it that much, but tell us about that.
The interest in the lost civilization of Lemuria really surprised me. I spent, must be over 10 years, I guess, researching that book. I traveled around the world. I traveled through the Pacific and so forth, gathering material. I was very interested in this subject, and it took me, of course, a long while to write it. And when I completed it, I was very happy with the completed work. But the thought struck me, this book will never get published. Nobody will ever read it, because who knows about Lemuria? They've heard about Atlantis and Troy and places like that, but nobody's ever heard about Lemuria. They don't know what that is. And I voiced my concerns to my wife, Laura, and she said, yeah, you're right. Nobody's going to read this book. So I fielded the book anyway. I did pick up a nice publisher, Bear & Company at Inner Traditions. They did a fine job. And the book took off. I couldn't believe it. It's in foreign editions in Russia and in Bulgaria and places like that. And I understand that the French are now interested in doing it. But beyond that, which is a surprise, I mean, who in Russia knows about Lemuria? But apparently they do. But I get more letters, phone interviews like this one, coming from out of the blue about Lemuria than anything else I've written. I've written over 20 books and about all kinds of things, but nothing has generated the consistent interest in Lemuria. I mean, I just got a letter the other day from a wonderful scholar in India. Wrote me a long, very erudite letter about Lemuria. And nobody trashes the idea that, Lemuria is this fantasy, made-up stuff. People claim to have really solid information this place really existed, or they have dreams about it, they gravitate towards it, it feels very real to them. It's very surprising. So I don't think it has anything to do with me or my book. I just think the Lemuria, getting the name out there, is resonating with something archetypal in people. I really feel that way, having had these experiences.
Most listeners of this show are going to know, just by being here today, listening to the program, what Lemuria is. But for those who don't know what Lemuria is, it is a continent from the Pacific. I hope you'll explain some of your stories or confirmation of how it was destroyed.
There's really not too much evidence that a large continent actually existed in the Pacific, although there is some indication that perhaps there was. But more likely, it's better to think about Lemuria as a people or a culture that's spread over archipelagos, which are lines of islands that threaded their way across the central and eastern Pacific. And these islands, many of them still exist. Some went under the sea. what happened to Lemuria, what happened to the people of Lemuria, is they experienced something very similar to what we saw last March, in which an enormous tsunami reached its height at 130-some feet, washed over northeastern Japan, and killed a minimum of about 25,000 people and did, of course, enormous damage. Japan survived, being what Japan is. But an event similar to this took place much further back into the past, in which a tsunami, which is hard to imagine, a tsunami between 400 and 700 feet high, washed over the Pacific. This is now known to have actually taken place. The physical evidence has been found in beach sand at extremely high levels on some of the Hawaiian Islands themselves. And now geophysicists know for a fact that there were several incidents in the ancient past in which tsunamis of incredible height and power surged across the Pacific at 500 miles an hour. Now, there's nothing alive that could have survived such a catastrophe. And that really was the final, last act of Lemuria, a civilization that had lasted longer than any other organized society in human history, and may have been, from certain points of view, the most advanced, the most sophisticated society that human beings ever achieved. And that is basically what we're talking about.
It brings to mind a couple questions. So the first one is, when you speak of it as being the most advanced, what does that mean? Is that from a spiritual level of love and cooperation, but yet on a technological level as well, because of what we see scattered on these remnant islands across the Pacific?
Both, because their technology arose from spiritual adeptness. These were people who left a legacy of spiritual greatness, which has contributed significantly to Tibetan Buddhism and the spiritual traditions of people all around the Pacific Rim, from Tibet, which is not the Pacific Rim, admittedly, beyond that, from Tibet all the way to coastal South America and the Inca traditions. And it was from these spiritual experiences and as a people that arose a technology which was parallel to ours but totally different, because the Lemurians, it would appear, had as the basis of their spiritual points of view and their national ethic that God expresses his will through natural law. And therefore, if a society lives in close cooperation with natural law, it is living the will of God. And by understanding that basic principle, they evolved and achieved things which are absolutely mind-blowing. Some of the things that they achieved, and this is something that we understand today but have not yet really achieved yet, is weather modification. Well, you mentioned before we got on the air that you had visited a place called Nan Madol. And Nan Madol is one of the possibly the most remote spot on Earth. It's in Micronesia. And it has, Nan Madol means the spaces between. It's actually an artificial island. It was made in prehistory by supposedly an unknown people. Archaeologists cannot define who made this tremendous achievement of the sea, just off the northern end of another island called Panap, sometimes pronounced Ponape. And Nan Madol, this artificial island built on a coral reef, a submerged coral reef, has tunnels that go under the sea to chambers, man-made tunnels. Most importantly, the island is made up of 280 billion tons of magnetized basalt. And the source for this magnetized basalt has never been found. And the magnetized basalt has been arranged into very strange structures, square structures. Bear no resemblance to anything else in the world. But in my book, I explain it in greater detail than I have time to explain here. Nan Madol is part of a system which was used to diffuse typhoons. That area of the world was and is the cradle of typhoons, which are caused when cold air hits the surface of the warm water and creates a vortex, resulting in typhoon or hurricane activity. Highly destructive, of course. And mostly these typhoons slam into the Philippines, especially Luzon. Nanmadol, acting as a degaussing device, just at the point where the typhoon passes over, diffuses the typhoon, turns it into a rainstorm. And why would they want to do that? Why would they want to save the Philippines, which is over 300 miles, no, 300 thousands of miles away? It's in a direct line. Why would they do that? And they did it because on Luzon you find another stupendous ancient work. They're called the Banawi rice fields. The Banawi rice fields represent the largest food factory ever made on Earth, ever, bigger than anything today. It is an entire canyon that has been terraformed in the ancient past to produce phenomenal amounts of food for many millions of people. It's no longer in operation, mostly. It's in a ruinous condition, but it's preserved. It's one of UNESCO's preserved World Heritage Sites. Again, archaeologists don't have a clue who made this place or exactly when, although they know it's at least 2,000 years ago, certainly much older than that. And in order to save the Banawi rice fields in Luzon in the Philippines, you had to protect it from typhoons, from hurricanes. And that's exactly what Nanmadol does. So in other words, what we're talking about is a technology which we can grasp and understand, but have not yet duplicated. And that is a weather modification technology that prevented the development of typhoons and allowed the production of food on this massive scale that would have fed the entire Southeast Asia and everything in that area, which indicates that at one time there was an enormous population there that had to be fed by some civilization. And that civilization is enshrined and preserved primarily, although not exclusively, in the traditions of native peoples around the world, literally around the world, not just around the Pacific. The name Lemuria that we have today is Roman, comes from ancient Rome. It is a Latin name. The Romans themselves had a ceremony, a series of ceremonies they referred to as the Lemuria, and it took place annually in the spring and March to commemorate the death, the loss of the Lemurians. And that's where our version, that's where the European name comes from. Originally it was called probably Mu or something like that. It was referred to by different names by different peoples, but Lemuria is not just something that a name that was channeled or made up or something. The ancient Romans, at the height of their high civilization, honored and venerated the memory of lost Lemuria.
And even in your book, it describes these islands that are scattered across the Pacific, like Nanmadol. Yes, I've been there. And when I look over at the monuments, say in photographs of Peru, I see similar structures. It fascinates me because the locals on Ponape have no idea how Nanmadol got there. It precedes their historical ancestry records. They even are frightened to spend the night overnight in this Nanmadol structure because people have died. They don't come out alive.
That's right. And the reason why they have this fear is legitimate. There is a phenomenon you may have heard of when
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. This is the UFO News today. I have 6 stories. Let's get to them. Story number 1 is up by the International Space Station again, okay? So, this time what we have is object in question right there. So let's take a closer look and see what we have here. Alright, so remember what we're looking for. It's going to show up right in here. There it is right there. You can see it. It gets bright, and then it's going to disappear. There we go. Now it's gone. The disappearing light, and blinks in again. So, what is it? Don't know. Obviously something, and as you recall from the video yesterday, NASA's aware of these things. They obviously would have to be, right? Alright, let's move from here to our next story. This next one takes us up by the sun. Check these out. This was just the other day. We've seen a lot of stuff up by the sun over the last year. Okay. Lots of them up there again. So they're there for a reason. I know I keep saying that, but they're not just hanging out for no known reason. I can't imagine that anybody would believe it's just coincidence. Alright, so the link's available so you can check that out further. Moving right along. Next we go over to the Super Bowl. Okay, we've seen this one before. This is just another review, another video. They still haven't found out what was the cause of the power outage there. But this video is making its rounds now. Okay, so moving from there, let's go up to the next one. This is California. It's just over a California beach. Video itself is almost 5 minutes long. There you go, you see it? Looks like there's even a second one up there. One just flew off this way, and then we still have this one here. Alright, very cool. Good shot. Next one takes us to Mexico. There we go. Obviously right in the middle there you see him. Alright. Very good. So that one's there to check it out. And, oh, he's going to do a zoom in here. Alright, a little closer view. I think you got the idea on the first pass, right? Alright, from there, let's go one last one. This is the Curiosity rover. Now, there's lots of interesting things they keep seeing, but check this one out now. Alright, remember some of the other things they keep finding up there? The most recent we saw was what looks like a big RV. Yeah, very strange. Okay. There we go. Alright, here we go. We're getting to it. That's the object they found up on Mars. Oh, very bizarre. What do you think that is? Do you think that's a outgrowth of the rock? Perhaps a natural phenomenon up there? On Mars, these type of objects grow out of the ground, do you think? Very bizarre, but there it is nonetheless. So that's it. That's our UFO news for today. I'll be back momentarily. I have a bunch more news to get to, so don't go anywhere.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
Alrighty, continuing on. Speaking of the truth. Okay, so we've got a situation going on now where there's a crazed gunman on the loose again. You notice a trend? There seems to be these crazed gunmen that keep showing up out there in life. False flags, right? We know a bunch of them are false flags, and I think a lot of people are kind of catching on to this. This one has an interesting twist to it. The article says, new false flag op underway to demonize police, military, vets, and Second Amendment. Well, goes on to say that the manhunt for fired LA cop who endorses gun ban while vowing to murder LA cops and officials who wronged him. Now, if you had a well-regulated AWB, this would not happen. The time is now to institute a ban that will save lives. Why does any sportsman need a 30-round magazine for hunting? Why does anyone need a suppressor? Why does anyone need a AR-15 rifle? Senator Feinstein, you are doing the right thing and leading the reinstitution of a national automatic weapons ban. Now, okay, goes on to say, I didn't get up today with plans to write the story, but a reader and a friend from SGT Report brought this to my attention, and it must be covered. This is uncomfortable and frightening stuff. If there is there another false flag underway in the LA area at this moment, or is this rampage and publicity posted diatribe truly that of a former cop and military man who has gone off the reservation? That's the question we must ask, as the Fresno Bee reports today. My friend wondered if some part of the U.S. government might be behind the extreme long Facebook rant allegedly posted by Christopher Dorner, a fired LAPD police officer who has military training. There's a link here to his publicity and posted statement. It is ridiculously lengthy and extremely detailed. At first blush, one starts to get the feeling that it's authentic, but then the anti-gun, pro-Obama tirade begins. How convenient. An active shooter who has already confessed his crimes, who despises guns in the hands of the common man, and who argues that they should be banned in one handy manifesto. Maybe this whole story is legit. Time will tell. But what makes the truly scary stuff, and the reason for my friend's concern, is that the allegedly self-authored anti-gun rant by the alleged shooter, halfway through Dorner's post, he embarks on anti-firearm tirade so venomous it makes any informed reader wonder if the DOD, DOJ, or DHS had a hand in authoring it. So let's listen to what this says. It's my personal feeling. My friend noted his concerns in this way. It's my personal feeling this is going to be a government op, and a very bloody one. Schools and public places may be targets for revenge. DC snipers on steroids. Alright, and these are the words. It said, if you have a well-regulated AWB, automatic weapons ban, this would not happen. The time is now to reinstate a ban that will save lives. Why does any sportsman need a 30-round magazine for hunting? Why does anyone need a suppressor? Why does anyone need an AR-15 rifle? This is the same small arms weapon system utilized in eradicating Al-Qaeda, Taliban, and every enemy combatant since the Vietnam War. Don't give me that crap that it's not a select fire or a full auto rifle like the DOD uses. That's bullshit, because the troops who carry M4 and M16 weapon system for combat ops outside the wire rarely utilize the select fire function when in contact with enemy combatants. The use of select fire probably isn't even 1% in combat. So in essence, AR-15 semi-automatic rifle is the same as the M4, M16. These do not need to be purchased as easily as walking into your local Walmart or striking the key to enter your keyboard to add to cart. So anyway, it goes on to here. Do you smell a rat? Okay, you got this guy out there praising gun control. Okay, and his actions, he's out there, being an Obama supporter. There's other information that some of his manifesto that's being put out there has been doctored, and that what he's saying in some of the manifestos is that he's not out to kill all the cops, but he's out to kill Whitey. So, it's kind of hard to say because the propaganda machine is at work to want to push the racist button. Okay? So, hopefully Americans aren't going to fall into this again and let themselves get fooled about the whole racist thing again. All right? Hopefully Americans are smart enough. Hopefully people around the world are smart enough. Okay, what we got going on over here? All right, looks like there's a couple more articles dealing with the same subject. Copkiller leaves manifesto praising Obama and calling for gun control. I'm not going to go into the whole thing. I'm just going to leave the link available. And again, over here at one more place here. All right, this one here is from Obama releaseyourrecords.blogspot.com. Obot targets cops and killing spree, slams those that question the Kenyan Obama's birth certificate. So, just from the few pieces of information that I've shared, you could see that there's something really strange going on about this whole scenario. You got a guy running around out there with a gun, killing people, then saying there needs to be gun control laws to protect people from getting killed from, I guess, people like him, while at the same time praising Obama, and something seems a little weird. So just remember, as you're listening to the stories, because I'm sure you'll be barraged with them today, tomorrow, and over the weekend, as you listen to the stories, and as your friends are listening, more particular, because I know that you're aware of this, just remind them to consider that the news isn't telling the truth. Okay? Just to consider that there might be something more, and point them to the internet. Point them to where they can go and dig in and find some of the information. Because there comes a point in time where we have to stop getting fooled. I know I'm well past the point of liking to be fooled. I don't think you like to be fooled, but it seems like there's a lot of people. It's time for us to stop that. Time for us to all get on board with the truth and stop denying what's really going on. False flags are all around us because people keep buying into them. Let's stop that. All right, here's another piece. This was on one of the false flags, 9/11. This is a collection of facts that are very important to the whole conspiracy here. Okay. It says, here's a list of 24 facts that cannot be debunked about 9/11. And when we say 9/11, and why I say 9/11, it's 9/11/2001. I know they're trying to push this Sandy Hook shooting as the new 9/11 to get you to forget about what happened on 9/11/2001. But again, we have to remember that our attention span isn't that short, and we can remember back 12, 13 years. So here's some of that list. It says nanothermite was found in the dust at ground zero. 1,700 plus engineers and architects support a real 9/11 investigation. Total collapse of WTC-7 in 6.5 seconds. Dick Cheney was in command of NORAD at 9/11 while running war games and gave a stand-down order. 6 out of 10 commissioners believe the 9/11 commission report was set up to fail. FBI confiscated 84 to 85 videos from the Pentagon. Osama bin Laden was not wanted by the FBI for the 9/11 attacks. No hard evidence connecting bin Laden to 9/11. Hundreds of firefighters who witnessed testimony to bombs or explosives have been ignored by the 9/11 Commission report. Hundreds of firefighters and witnesses testified to molten metal, ignored by the Commission report. 5 dancing Israelis arrested in Mossad truck bombs on 9/11 that stated that they were there to document the event. Can't document an event unless you know that there's an event that is going to happen. On September 10th, Rumsfeld reported 2.3 trillion missing from the Pentagon. Incidentally, that 2.3 couldn't be tracked because, hey, the area where they did the accounting for that happened to be the one place where that plane hit the Pentagon. Go figure. Okay, 220 plus senior military intelligence service, law enforcement, and government officials questioned the official story. We have the towers were built to withstand Boeing jets hitting it. We've got the history of America false flag attacks. You know, we have Operation Northwig, Gulf of Tonkin, USS Liberty, so on. It's happened before. It will continue to happen until people wake up to the false flags. 15. BBC correspondent James Stanley reported that the collapse of WT7 happened while she was standing there, and you could see that it hadn't happened. It didn't happen for about 20 minutes afterwards. We had Flight 93 debris was spread out over many miles. We had Bush hesitated for 441 days before starting the 9/11 Commission. That's over a year. Okay, we know cases where they started much quicker. What about Bill Clinton and his whole escapades there? They got onto that one pretty fast. 441 days. Okay, the 9/11 Commission was given extremely limited funds. 15 million was given to investigate 9/11, yet over 60 million was spent investigating Clinton and Monica Lewinsky. Bush said he watched the first plane crash into the North Tower before entering the classroom. The TV was obviously on. However, we saw when he was in the classroom and was informed about the first plane. He didn't see it. And we know that there wasn't any footage of the first plane till the next day. So he didn't see it. He lied. The Patriot Act was written before 9/11. It was signed into law on the 26th. We had Marvin Bush was the director of Stratacom, which was in charge of security of the World Trade Center, United Airlines, and Dulles Airport. All three were breached on 9/11. So either he is completely inept at his job and shouldn't be working in security because 3 of his locations got hit, or he's in on it. Who killed John O'Neill, former FBI task force agent investigating Al-Qaeda bin Laden? Then you got insider trading upon foreknowledge for put options. And then we had 7 of the 19 hijackers are still alive. So they can't be dead and alive at the same time. Well, that would be a zombie, right? But I don't know that we have any reports of any Iraqi zombies running around anywhere in this world, do we? If there are, let me know. But all right, moving right along. This one here is another reason why you shouldn't get vaccines, and why you should encourage others to not get vaccines if you hear that they're willing to do something so silly. FDA approves the first GMO flu vaccine containing reprogrammed insect virus. Want to get some of that in my bloodstream. A new vaccine for influenza has hit the market, and it is the first ever to contain genetically modified proteins derived from insect cells. According to reports, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration recently approved the vaccine known as FluBlock, which contains recombined DNA technology and an insect virus known as baculovirus that is purported to help facilitate the more rapid production of vaccines. All right, the article's there for you to read further, but what do you think about that? You ready to start injecting, having them inject insect virus into you? They can't even figure out what all of the virus are in the human. Now they're going to start messing with the insects and combining them? Sounds like quack science to me. Okay, 4-minute news report here. Here we go.
Good morning, folks. This is a more accurate visualization of the solar wind interacting with our planetary magnetics. The visual and accompanying article are linked for you below, detailing how wide X-ray observation will help us understand the charge exchange and energy distribution within the Earth-Sun relationship. This is a picture of pollution over the water. It's dense where you'd expect it, but the ship trail pollution is an impressive example of our Grime's lasting localized effects. Solid article here coming back to the Japan quake disaster. We learned two important things. First, the 50-meter land movement was the largest on record with the quake, contributing to the devastation of the tsunami. And second, the part of the fault that ruptured was not supposed to be building pressure, so you have to ask, where else have we missed a catastrophe in the making? Since we're on quakes, let's take a look at the tsunami damage from the 8-pointer in the Solomon Islands. The death toll keeps rising as they continue to make their way to isolated villages, some completely destroyed. One of the stronger aftershocks we've had occurred yesterday afternoon, right in the middle of that hodgepodge. We have readings of 6.6, 6.7, 6.8, even a 7.0 for this aftershock. Something to note, above this we have readings of 6.9 in Alaska and a 6-pointer in Russia. I do not think these are separate quakes. Their devices were likely set off by the aftershock waves. Boca Grande, Florida, red tide alert to build on the fish deaths we've seen there. In Ireland, we have multiple dolphins washed ashore dead, and when I was trying to find more info, I ran across this article from a week ago. For newcomers, my soft spot is the fauna of this planet. I have to believe this is all the same environmental hazard, and it's so infuriating. Europe's weather forecast hasn't changed much, storms possible in the south. Australia still got them north, but of all the watch zones on Earth right now, the low pressure systems holding the trophy at this moment are on the United States, bringing wild wind and precipitation totals. Little sister up to the left there as well. These are moving north today, and there will be as much as 2 feet of snow as this moves north through New England, but most importantly, the storm surge from this low could be Boston's version of a Hurricane Sandy. Just as finishing touches are made by this Saturday evening, this low will slide into the Gulf states and create some severe weather. Nobody should take this lightly either. You see a significant disturbance on the flux gate and smaller one beginning on the right. Same thing here with the inductions. The larger spikes are from the dense proton mass in the solar wind we had yesterday. Today we see that the yellow below it, the solar wind speed, has taken some jumps as well. Looking at the 3-day solar wind plot, we see the density and the speed spikes. Normally we expect these to be a little closer together with the coronal hole, but the slow developer does match the coronal hole pattern where the faster particles act like a shovel or a broom, and we see a short burst of density before the faster wind. We already have auroras breaking out at high latitude, and something else to note, energetic flux at Spaceship Earth has not stopped, it's actually gotten a bit worse today. Only got a few sunspots of concern. You can see these two northern groups here. Both appear to have their polarities separated, however, indicating safety. So no solar eruptions possible, right? Nope. These plasma filaments are not only peppered all over the Earth-facing disk, some of the bigger ones appear to be destabilizing as we speak, and there are a few more little ones all over that could be set off by a larger plasma eruption. To top it all off, the South Pole coronal hole appears to be having a tea party with our other coronal hole in the southern hemisphere, up near the same latitude. Quake watch continues, but hopefully we've seen the worst of it. Eyes open. No fear, it's 6:25 a.m. Eastern Time, and that's the news. Be safe, everyone.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls.
All right, continuing on. Next piece here deals with the Akashic records. It says major events are about to unfold. Now, the Akashic records are records that are out there of everything that is taking place and has taken place. They're like a universal library out there somewhere in the cosmos. All right? But we all have the ability to access that, because even though I say somewhere out there in the cosmos, the way to access it is through going inside each one of ourselves. And we can do that, and we can have access to this storehouse of information, this great record system that we have. In a recent interview, a woman with access to the Akashic records stated that there will be some major impending changes on our planet, including a change in power and a new currency in the near future. When a person dies, they have a life review, which is they see and experience the effect on their life. When a person dies, they have a life review in which they see and experience their effect on others, which helps their spirit achieve mastery, she said. According to the information she received from Source, for example, the Akashic records, Earth was practically a paradise planet, but experienced a fall and moved into denser and denser vibrations. Many of the early spirit beings came here on a mission to get the planet back on track, and a lot of them are reincarnated now in this lifetime, she reported. Our old world is dying as a new energy is in the process of manifesting on Earth, but we have to go through a kind of birth canal to get there, which causes a lot of unresolved issues to surface, she pointed out. In this interview, Angel Rose O'Grady discusses her remarkable ability to access these records, which are reported to contain all knowledge of human experiences and the history of the cosmos. I find it interesting that this intelligence that does record every detail of life, she said. Further, every person has their own library book, as it is called, as well as a database, which is the record of all of the lifetime a person has led and all their track record for success and failures during them, she explained. She views the records as spiritual in nature, though some say are holographic crystal discs that hold this information. So here we get into some of the changes. She stated that we are adjusting to new Earth energies and is going to manifest, but it will take between 10 to 15 years. It says it is this writer's opinion these changes will happen much sooner. Keep in mind that Pluto is in Capricorn into 2023, so that it would be the 10 years from now. She talks about a shift in consciousness is happening on many levels. It's happening in our biology, our animal, our life, planet. It's under the oceans. There's a huge cleansing going on. Everybody's feeling it. Talks about prepping. Believes people should prepare themselves for earth changes, have proper water, medical supplies. Evil's on the way out. This is something that's been talked about for a long while. Evil's on the way out. It's a process. It's unrealistic to think it's going to happen overnight, not with all the things that need changing. There is so much miraculous stuff going on. People are waking up and creating new paradigms. The government will not give up easily. We know that. So we have to just be determined. She said, I think we still have a government fight in our hands. They're not going to give up easily in terms of their agendas to continue to take away more of our rights and our freedoms. But we are the ones who really take and have to take hold of ourselves and stop our codependency on these systems. Karmic payback in regards to those who are under illusion that the power have suppressed technologies, perpetuated wars, and kept us bound as economic slaves to their corporate elite. There will be debts of karma that they will need to repay in their next lifetimes. And so it goes on from there. But these are all very good points, because that is one of the important things we need to remember about this shift that we are in. December 21st happened, and we here in this world at this point in time seem to have a short attention span. So probably the idea of December 21st has come and gone from many people's minds. They don't even think about it. But that was the time of a new beginning the next day, the 22nd. 21st ended a cycle, a long cycle. So with this new cycle, this new beginning, comes all of these changes. The light is here. The dark's on the way out. We've talked about that for a while. But now we have to continue to endure, because this is the tricky part. The momentum is there. The energy is there. Everything for change is there. We need now to go with that change, to move with the change that is happening, and allow all of the darkness that's out there, just allow it to go away. We can assist it by allowing ourselves to channel this light as it comes through, to be smart in the way we're using our energy. And the more that we are aware that there is energy shifts around us, the more that we can affect that positively to help others through this process. So it is a process. It's going on, and each and every day we're making a little bit more progress. All right, I'm going to jump away for a moment to a song. I will be back. Stay tuned.
Great Spirit, send down your love, send down your love.
Continuing on. So that song's Great Spirit. Yeah, I was on a trip years back to Chaco Canyon, New Mexico, and I had spent a couple of days there camping where the Anasazi were, and I got back and I was gifted with that song, and I've had the opportunity to play that in a number of interesting locations. I've been in Roswell, New Mexico, where I played it. I've been at Guantanamo Bay on USO tour out there. So very interesting, but it's a song of peace, and that's there you have it. All right, let's go ahead and close our eyes, do our meditation for today as we head on into the weekend. All right, take a deep breath. And exhale. Now, make sure all your chakras are activated as you go forth today. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet, and indigo. Make sure your armor is on. Your shields up, protecting you from the emotions of the day. Make sure that you're focused on where you're going. Imagine looking at a target. Imagine seeing that bullseye crystal clear. And as you look at that bullseye, imagine seeing what it is you want. Right there in the bullseye. Focus yourself on it. And at the same time as you're focused on that bullseye, I want you also to put your mind stepping back a bit so that you can see more of the picture. So even though you're focused on that bullseye, your attention is also aware of what is going on around you. And as you are aware not only of the bullseye but the area around it, you realize that there is activity taking place all the time. And the more we learn to be calm within these moments, the more we can stay focused, yet pay attention all at the same time. So imagine yourself with a bow and arrow in your hand. Your eyes are closed, and you draw back on the bow, aiming towards the bullseye, and you let go. And it hits right in the middle where it's supposed to. And you open your eyes and you see and you realize that it's not your eyesight that gets you to the bullseye, but it's that inner vision, that inner focus. And with this secret, you continue your journey down the path of life. And you see others along the way, having learned the same lessons. And as you see more and more people walking along understanding the lessons, you feel that there is a ease and a simplicity taking place in life. And you realize that we all have the ability to make a positive change by focusing on that. And by letting go of those things which no longer serve us, we can free ourselves. So let's imagine ourselves as a society, as a planet, moving forward without the chains around our ankles. Let's imagine ourselves with wings of eagles, flying high. And let's imagine us shining bright as the Creator has made us to shine. And now let's just imagine from our heart chakra sending out love all around the planet. And let our heart keep sending out love over the course of this day. And as we set that energy in motion, let's take our conscious mind and bring our conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3 coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2 coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1 coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. All right, there you have it. That's our show. That's the entire week. Have a great weekend. Be safe out there, and just have a good time, man. That's the best and most important thing I think we can do. It's easy to get bogged down in all of the nonsense and the garbage that goes on, but we also have the opportunity to look at the positive. And imagine if we all looked at the positive, what we might see. Interesting experience. Let's all look positive this weekend and have a good time. I'll talk to you on Monday. Peace. I'm out of here.